I never believed in ghosts. Not really. I mean, I love a good ghost story, but they're just that, stories. At least, that's what I thought, until I spent a night at the Cadillac Hotel in Seattle. The Cadillac Hotel isn't your typical tourist stop. It's an old building in Pioneer Square dating back to the early 1880s. It survived the Great Seattle Fire, housed weary travelers, and later became a flophouse before its restoration. But some say not all of its guests ever checked out. I was in Seattle for work, and being a fan of history, I thought staying in a landmark hotel would be interesting. My room was on the second floor. Nothing fancy. Just an old-fashioned bed, a writing desk, and a window overlooking the rainy street below. At first, everything seemed normal, until night fell. It started with small things. Creaks in the floorboards when no one was there. A whisper of movement just beyond my vision. But then, the knocking began. At first, I thought it was another guest. But when I opened the door, the hallway was empty. I shrugged it off. Maybe old pipes. Maybe my imagination. I went back to bed, but the uneasy feeling never left. I must have dozed off, but then I woke up. The room was wrong. The air was heavy, charged, like before a storm, and then I heard it. A whisper. Right by my ear. I bolted upright, heart pounding. The room was freezing. My breath came out in white clouds. And then, the mirror, the antique one across from my bed, began to fog up, as if someone was breathing on the glass from the inside. I didn't need to be told twice. I don't remember checking out. I barely remember the cab ride to another hotel. But I know one thing. I'll never stay at the Cadillac Hotel again. And if you ever find yourself there, maybe keep a light on. You never know who or what is still lingering in the halls. Seattle has a way of holding on to its past. Sometimes, if you listen closely, you can hear it whisper in the rain, in the echo of footsteps on old cobblestone streets. I never believed in ghosts, not really, until the night I saw her, Princess Angeline. They say she was the last daughter of Chief Seattle, a woman who refused to leave her homeland when her people were forced out. She lived in a tiny shack by the waterfront, washing clothes and selling hand-woven baskets to survive. And though she passed away over a century ago, some say she never truly left. I stepped closer. Her eyes met mine, dark, tired, but knowing. I swear, in that moment, it felt like the whole market went quiet. No footsteps, no voices. Just her and me. I blinked. She was farther down the alley now, though I never saw her move. My breath caught in my throat. I turned to the nearest stall owner and asked, "Did you see that woman?" He just chuckled, shaking his head. "Ah, you saw her, huh? Some say Princess Angeline still walks these streets, selling baskets, even in death." When I turned back, she was gone. No trace, no footprints on the wet pavement, just the lingering scent of salt and cedar. I don't know what I saw that night. A trick of the light, a shadow of the past, or something else entirely. But ever since then, whenever I walk these streets, I keep an eye out. Because some spirits never really leave home. And if you ever find yourself at Pike Place Market, listen closely. You might just hear the whisper of history, still walking beside you. They say the past never truly leaves a place. Some echoes are too strong, too desperate. I learned this the hard way in the Arctic Club Hotel in Seattle, when I met Marian Zionchek. You might not know his name, but back in the 1930s, Marian Zionchek was a rising star in politics, a young, fiery congressman with bold ideas and a reckless streak. His life spiraled into chaos, ending in a tragic fall from the 5th floor of the Arctic Building on August 7th, 1936. They called it a self-inflicted incident. Some weren't so sure. I didn't come to the Arctic Club Hotel looking for ghosts. But ghosts, it seems, have a way of finding you. It started the moment I stepped into the lobby. The air was thick, like a thunderstorm was about to break. I checked in, got my key, and made my way to the elevator. A grand old thing, all brass and aged wood, the kind that looks like it belongs in a different era. I stepped inside, pressed my floor number, and then the doors refused to close. I swear I felt something shift behind me, like someone else had stepped inside, but when I turned, nothing. Just me, my reflection in the tarnished brass. The elevator jolted, then started moving on its own, past my floor. Up, then down. The dim light flickered, and suddenly the panel lit up. The 5th floor. Marion's floor. The doors creaked open, and a gust of air hit me, cold, carrying the scent of old books and something metallic, something wrong. I stepped forward. The hallway was empty, but the air hummed. Then, a whisper, faint, crackling like an old radio. "They lied," he said. The hair on my arm stood on end. I turned back, ready to bolt, but the elevator doors slammed shut behind me. A shadow flickered at the end of the hall, the shape of a man in an old suit, his eyes hollow, desperate. I blinked and he was gone, but the whisper wasn't. "I didn't do it," he whispered. I don't remember running. I don't remember slamming the lobby button a dozen times until the elevator lurched downward. But when the doors finally opened, I stumbled out, gasping. The front desk clerk gave me a look. "You saw him, didn't you?" I didn't answer. I just grabbed my things and left. Some say Marion Zionchek jumped to his death. Others say he was pushed. But one thing I know for sure. He never left. I'd always thought hauntings were just stories, something people tell to make an old building more interesting. But that changed the night I met the man with the burned face. It started with a simple curiosity. I had heard the rumors. Seattle's oldest bar, Merchant's Cafe, was haunted. Ghost hunters, bartenders, even customers had reported eerie encounters. Shadowy figures in the basement, disembodied whispers, strange knocks against the walls when no one was there. I wanted to see for myself. I stepped inside, and immediately the place felt different. The air was heavy, thick with something I couldn't quite name. The bartender, an older woman with tired eyes, greeted me with a knowing smirk. "Looking for ghosts, huh?" she said, sliding a drink across the counter. "You wouldn't be the first." I laughed it off, but as the night went on, things started to happen. Small things. At first, the lights flickered. My glass slid an inch across the bar. Without me touching it, a cold draft brushed against my neck, even though the doors were shut tight. Then, I saw him. In the mirror behind the bar, just for a second, his reflection. A man with a scarred, burned face staring right at me. I spun around. No one was there. My heart pounded. I wasn't drunk. I wasn't seeing things. A low whisper brushed against my ear. It was hoarse, raspy. "Get out." I turned to the bartender, my face pale. "Did you hear that?" She sighed, wiping the counter with slow, practiced movements. "You saw him, didn't you?" I nodded. She leaned in. "They say he was a miner back in the late 1800s, got caught in an underground fire, and burned alive. When they pulled him out, he was barely recognizable, but he didn't die there. No, he stumbled back here, to the bar, where he collapsed and took his last breath. I felt my skin crawl. The air grew colder. A loud bang echoed from the basement. The bartender flinched. "That's where he lingers," she murmured. "Downstairs. He doesn't like visitors." I had to see for myself. With shaky hands, I gripped a flashlight and made my way to the basement door. The wood was old, splintered, as if someone or something had clawed at it over the years. I stepped inside. The air was suffocating, thick with the scent of damp earth, and something burned. My light flickered. The room was empty, but I could feel it. Something watching me, Then, from the darkness, I heard it, a slow shuffling sound, and then closer. A whisper, barely audible. Leave. I turned and ran. Back upstairs, the bartender gave me a knowing look. Told you, she said, sliding me another drink. He doesn't like visitors. I never went back. But sometimes, late at night, when I close my eyes, I still see him. The burned man, watching, waiting. And I wonder, if I had stayed just a little longer, what would have happened?